How do I- Okay, good.
Got you.
Good morning. Today is October 24th, 2025, and I have the pleasure of having Oyvind here with us, with me today, and I want him to tell you about an exciting project that he has been working on with Sound and Color, and in the project, how it's come a long way and where it's at and the opportunity that's available for others that may want to pursue the route of research, so that it becomes more of a mainstream modality using sound and color and light and aroma. So Oyvind, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. To introduce myself, I'm Oyvind Berg. I developed over the last actually too many years the class therapy system, which is abbreviation for color, light, aroma, and sound. It's a system that is dedicated to bring down people's anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges using guided imagery in addition to the color, light, aroma, and sound. It's delivered, excuse me, either in two ways. It could either be in a clinical setting with a provider in the facility, or it can also be done as a home modality for healing. So in a clinical setting, it is delivered through a large screen television, headphones, and we have a color changing system that changes the color to correspond with the session in progress. So as an example, if we're bringing an individual in that has a high level of anxiety, chances are they're going to get colors of green or blue in the beginning to bring down the anxiety. As we all know that in color therapy, we have 12 colors. So we have programs for all of those colors. So it starts out with about 5 minutes of guided imagery where we have a lot of geometric figures. It's a little bit hypnotic, done intentionally to bring down or rebalance the central nervous system. That goes on for about 5 minutes. Then it moves into one of the 5 elements of nature as we work in the water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Each represent a seasonal part of it. So wood is the season of growth in the springtime. Water, of course, is the season of cold and ice, etc. So that is corresponding with the way we program it to assist further in the bringing down their anxiety. That goes on for about 5 minutes. We produce those internally with some very professional editors and development people, and we purchase footage from renowned nature photographers from around the world. The next step is the mandalas, which is the international symbol of meditation. That is another part that is corresponding again with the color needed. Goes on for another 5 or 6 minutes, and it ends with the rainbows. That kind of puts it all together. And at the end of it, we have piped in about 10 minutes of 528 hertz music at 50% volume, so that it puts pretty much 95% of the patients to sleep. So it brings them into a very deep meditative state. So that's a quick overview of what class is. We were able to obtain a patent on it, so we owned a patent on this technology. We've been working on it for a good number of years, but we also recently deployed our new platform, which allows it to be used at home, where the provider or the facility then can assign home use for their patients, so they don't have to come in every time. So it becomes far more flexible and user-friendly by doing it. So the home use can be delivered either through a screen television in their homes or with virtual reality devices. So being that we have worked on this for some time, we now have some additional opportunities that may be of interest to those of you that work in research and development and science of these modalities, which is a relationship that's been established over the last few months with the University of Mississippi Medical Center. They are creating a new foundation that is going to deal with their purpose is a lab for self-care and wellness. With that relationship, we're not able to do additional clinical studies. And as we all know, if we are going to get anywhere in this world with our incredible holistic modalities, we have to have some clinical validation. So
Yes.
we have now the ability to do so with that relationship, and they're going to do 2 or 3 studies for us starting out. These will be 3-arm studies and RCT, random controlled trials. So for those of you that have not been involved in clinical studies, I'll give you a very quick rundown of what's involved in those studies. In order to get an FDA clearance, you have 2 pathways. You can do a full-fledged study, which is extremely expensive and completely out of reach for most 99% of us. The second one is to do a study through what they call a 510(k) application. And in a 510(k) application, you can use a predicate. You have to have a predicate device that basically it doesn't have to do the same thing, but the same type of technology. And I'm going to give you an example. A good friend of mine started importing these low-level laser devices, handheld, that he built some years ago. And he has some success with it, but he never was able to really get it going full blast. So he did a 510(k) application based on a device where they did at the University of Colorado, I believe, did treat diabetic source with low-level laser therapy or low-level lasers. So he was able to obtain that clearance, from that study based on that predicate, and he has been extremely successful financially ever since. He sold about 10,000 units a month, for several years now. So he's been extremely successful. So with our involvement, engagement with the university and their foundation, they are equipped to do research. So they can set up all of the parameters that we need in each case. So if somebody has a device or a modality that they think can be brought to the masses, they're always looking at what is the end use, what is the application here for widespread use of it. And then they have what they call an IRB, which is an institutional review board at the hospital that would review the protocol that we would submit for any kind of study. And then they would then come back with any comments, or they would accept the protocol. And as they accept the protocol, then you can commence with your studies. And that can be done in multiple locations. So if you have your own facility, they're open to using multiple locations. So they can do some of it at the university, but also some at a remote location or another facility to accelerate the process.
So I have a question before you go on. So, for example, I know a few people that I'm going to send this video to. So their equipment, does it have to be FDA approved for this, or no?
No, that's the purpose of this, to get the FDA.
To get the approval. Okay, just want to make that clear. And for the remote location, does it have to be in the United States?
No, it can be overseas.
It can be overseas.
But what they have to have what they call a PI, principal investigator, and that has to be a credentialed individual, a mental health professional, psychologist, or a medical doctor, or a PhD level for individual. And
again, it can be somebody that's in a foreign country.
Correct.
That has those qualifications. Okay.
Yeah, and normally for a device, they would require, the average is probably around 100 subjects. Whereas if you do an ingestible, you talk about tens of thousands of subjects in the study. But for a device, you can do it with probably as few as 100. You know, in 2 locations, it would be 50 in each location.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's how that works. And then the university then would be in charge of they would be the project managers. So they would then assign the appropriate IRB. And at the end of the study, or during the study, the PI would be responsible for filling out the forms needed, the evaluations, etc., to be submitted to the university, to the IRB. And then at the end of the study, they would then review everything. That would bring in a statistician more than likely, and he would then assign a percentage of subjects to have positive effects on it. That could be anywhere from 50% to 30% on the low side to 80% on the high side. It varies. And if those criteria are met, and also I want to add, the university has their own statisticians that would be doing that evaluation. So at the end of that, if it meets those criteria, then they would deem the study accepted. They would accept the study. They don't approve anything. And if it's a 510(k), then it could be submitted to the FDA. There are some other steps that has to be done. A pilot study may have to be done, but if you just want a study to the point that you can publish it, because if you get the university to accept it, their IRB to accept it, then they will publish it in accepted medical journals. And that's probably the first step. That's what we're going after, is to get it published, because then you can advertise that, and you can refer to it as well.
So how far along are you into this research with the University of Mississippi, or with the hospital in Mississippi?
Right. We're far enough now that we're assigning the study. We've decided on the studies. The first one, just for your information, is going to be a 3-arm study where we do X number of patients with just class alone. And then the second arm would be with class and what we have termed CPAT, which is class positive affirmation therapy, which has been developed by our psychologist in our team. And the third one will be really interesting, because that would be using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the standard now for most mental health treatments. So if we prevail there, we can change the whole landscape of mental health therapists in this country. So it's going to be really important. So that's the power of these type of things. If we can get it into that, then the monetization, of course, comes with that, to a point that you don't have to try to sell one at a time. It's an automatic, because now you have acceptance, you have validation, and you've been published, and that's what you're after.
So you're going to set up a classroom in Mississippi, right? That's what you guys are working on right now.
The contract with the University of Mississippi is that they are already purchased, or they've already committed to 5 systems. So they're going to have 5 rooms equipped with our system. And then they're doing something really interesting. We're building together with them, a larger room where we're going to put 4 vibroacoustic chairs in there. And we're going to create some special, programming that we're going to stream in there just for relaxation. So staff and students and patients can go in there for 30 minutes or 45 minutes during their break, just to get away from it all. So that's a really interesting part of this whole thing. But
yeah,
a major commitment to this.
That's been one of my dreams, to be able to treat the healers. And so I think that's fascinating that, doctors and nurses are going to have access to this with the amount of stress that they have in, with their work. So Oeyvind, how, if somebody that's listening to this video and that has this equipment, what steps do you recommend that they take next?
Well, the best thing is to do a pilot study to see, measured, to present it to the university and say, hey, here's our documentation that we've done. And it doesn't have to be a big one, 15, 20 people, but track them properly and have some good documentation and then they will decide if they will take it on. Now, I'm going to send you, here's the description of the program.
Okay.
Send that to you as soon as we finish this engagement, and you're welcome to send that to your affiliates. That describes the whole program and many of the upcoming studies that they're committing to doing.
So the center is basically just now focused on this part of the hospital is focused on holistic modalities, right? That they're, can you tell a little bit where the funding is coming from?
Absolutely. Of course, when you're a university, you have people that are professional fundraisers, you know, that get grants constantly. So the purpose of this foundation is to research for self-care and wellness, as I said, which is bringing holistic modalities into medicine. That's what the whole purpose of this thing is, to create more functioning medicine, you know, that's another example. We are proposing a study on AFib with the cardiology department, because that's such a big problem right now with people. There's so many of them suffering. And there are two types of AFib, the ones that are born with it, that's hereditary, not a whole lot you can do. That's a surgical intervention that's going to be needed. But then you also have a very large group that are directly related to lifestyle choices, diabetes, obesity, drinking too much, smoking, etc. And that's the group that we were going to focus on to bring them back into a normal lifestyle, bring down their anxiety level, and by doing so, should bring down their AFib. And it's kind of interesting because what we will do there, we'll lay a track of a healthy heart at the lower track of the sound part of it, and then we'll have some visuals that will be synchronized with it. So they'll see a heart beating at the rate of 68 beats per minute or somewhere around that. And through the vagus nerve, it should stimulate the heart back into a normal sinus rhythm. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. We've had a little bit of experience with it, and it seemed to work extremely well.
Wonderful. So do you know any other, so they have your system in the hospital right now? What else do they have going on in terms of other modalities that they're testing?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it, Vanessa. They don't have our system yet because they're building a whole brand new pavilion, a 3-story building, with which we're going to be a big part of. So it's going to be sometime calendar 2026 before we get started. But what they're doing now, they're trying to assign another room and take delivery immediately of at least 1 or 2 systems, so they can start the research, because they need research papers to validate their existence. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Right, right. But do you know of any other modalities that they have lined up besides what you're doing?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm sure they're researching that, and they're also researching finding other professionals that could be on their advisory board. You'll see that in the write-up. And you know, so they're the lady that is running it, she's one of their PhDs in the nurses educational department. The people that came here, we had a delegation of 6 of them coming to evaluate this process. And we had 3 PhD, including the dean of the School of Nursing, 2 MDs, and then a lady from the administration came here. And during the discussion and demonstrations, the issue was, should we buy 1 system for our new upcoming foundation or facility? By the end of the day, that discussion was no longer there. It was a matter of how many units are we going to need. So they ended up with 6 or 5 plus the big room. So you know, it's a substantial investment on their part, and of course, it's an interesting addition to what we're doing, and it's going to be very helpful for color, light, aroma, and sound, you know, the modalities, because that's in every one of the proposed studies. We're part of every one of them. So they believe very strongly in color and sound as a modality of healing. They understand it. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Oyvind. Well, I think this is going to be open up the door for so many other people, and you're really a trailblazer here. doing this.
Well,
I mean, the University of Mississippi doing sound, color, light, and aroma. I was like, what?
well, you know, just as a side note, the University of Mississippi is the biggest hospital in the state of Mississippi. They're the only ones with a level 1 trauma center. It's a huge campus. I was blown away when I visited a couple of months ago. And, you know, so it's a really good place for us to be.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for, sharing this with my small community.
Yeah.
And because I think, maybe some people in the community, I know a couple people that three people that I'm gonna send this video to, and I will provide them with your email so they can get in contact with you, if that's okay.
Yep.
To see how, if they're interested, how can they be part of this new, adventure and research and development and employing it in the hospitals. I mean, that was like my #1 dream.
Yeah,
When I
of
first
course.
started in the sound and light,
Well, you guys, everybody in your group, Vanessa, have done so much good work on these modalities. So you deserve a break. You know, you deserve to get this thing recognized and monetized, because after all, we still need to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
We also need to buy groceries. You know, so
and pay rent and everything else. Absolutely.
exactly,
Well,
exactly.
thank you so much, Oyvind, and I
Thank
will
you.
pass this video along to those that I know will be interested in this. And
Yeah,
and yeah, just thank you for taking the time to explain it,
well,
and
thank you.
hopefully, go moving forward with it.
Yeah, and by all means, you know, share my email and also my phone number. They're welcome to give me a call if they have any questions.
Okay, wonderful. I'll do that. Thank
Okay,
you. Great to see
thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.